What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday. We're back again with another live stream, and as usual, I buy things for some reason, and they keep accumulating. So why not have a live stream and show off what I found last week? So we're back again. All right, so I'll go ahead and start off with what I actually was able to purchase last week. So new comics, they're slowly coming back, slowly but surely. So had a few things from last week that I actually ended up getting on my pull list. I guess I'll start with the one I didn't care too much for and then work my way up from there. So I had Batman 90. Like I said, I haven't been reading this book too much. I've been on and off this title ever since James Tynion hopped on it. And I think Jorge Jimenez was the artist on this instead of Tony Daniel, as you can kind of see by the B cover here. So I didn't really know what was going on. It was mainly like a Catwoman tale where she gets to team up with Joker, Riddler, and Penguin. I guess it was an homage to the 66 movie, maybe. But that's about all I got out of it. Like, I didn't care much for the story, and I'll probably not stay on for the whole issue 92 hype or whatever's going to happen there. But I don't know. I was in a comic shop. My shop reopened, and I got excited and saw a DC title I haven't read for quite a while, so I decided to check it out. And I know I don't need to check out 91. Next up, we got Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm still getting all these Buffy books. I feel like I'm liking them a little bit better after the Hellmouth crossover that I didn't care too much for. But at least now it seems like the art has gotten better in these books. Like, as you can kind of tell, they did this like gimmick where they look like the cover's on fire and you can actually see like the first page. And I have to say, I think it was Julian Lopez did the art in this. And he has like one of the most Sarah Michelle Gellar Buffys ever in a comic, in my opinion. Like, usually, kind of looks like the characters, but a lot of the characters he actually makes look pretty good in this book. So I'll probably keep getting these books for a while. I've been enjoying, for the most part, like I said, the Hellmouth stuff, like, they just with breakneck speed just went through like all the plots of a lot of the Buffy TV show, and hopefully the books will recover. But she has a weird cast right now. Like Angel, they've thrown together the whole cast over on that book, and in this book, she's kind of left with, like, of course, Giles, he's still in there. Her mom's still in there, but no Willow and no Xander directly on her team now. She is instead left with Robin Wood and Kendra the Vampire Slayer from season 2 of the show. So we'll see where they go with that. And then the last current read I read last week, DC Unkillables issue 3. So the big conclusion to the spinoff of Deceased. Once again, art, not very good in this book, but the story, Tom Taylor killed it, in my opinion. Pun intended, I suppose, but I really did enjoy the 3-issue arc he put together. I was not a big fan of this book going in. It was $5 a title. I was going to drop it, but I kind of just forgot to over the course of, comic shops closing and the world going crazy. I just went and kept this on my title, mainly support my shop. But honestly, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed reading this. Like this one, just the remaining villains and some kids are on a bus. Jim Gordon's trying to find salvation for him, and basically they get attacked by Zombie Bane, Zombie Mirror Master, and Zombie Wonder Woman. So to take down Zombie Wonder Woman, they lose about half their crew. You get to see a cool fight scene with Cheetah and Wonder Woman, but she takes out Cheetah, Solomon Grundy, and the Creeper. So that pretty much only leaves a surprise character we didn't even know was in the book. So now I want to go back and reread all 3 of them, but this, I guess, kind of spoilers. This one reveals that Mary Marvel is one of the kids, and she ends up saying Shazam and wreaking a lot of havoc. So Mary Marvel was the unexpected hero by the end of this. So I thought that was really cool, especially since in the last one, they name dropped Billy Batson, and he's pretty much just already a zombie kid. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, but they kind of redeemed themselves here with the Mary Marvel reveal. So I thought that was pretty awesome. All right, we got Brett Hess in the chat. What's going on, Brett? He says, heard Unkillables was awesome. I'll have to pick those up. Like I said, story's great. Art, not so much. Yeah, like I said, I don't know how else to put it besides that, but I definitely recommend it if you especially if you liked regular Deceased, because I think it suffered from the same thing in that. Tom Taylor did amazing on the story, but I think I can't remember who the artist was this second. But I think Travis Charest, maybe, I can't remember. I could be completely wrong. But the art wasn't that good, and it's gotten worse than Unkillables, but the story is still top notch. And then the other thing I read was on Marvel Unlimited. Last week I talked about House of M and how much I enjoyed that. So I started to read more Marvel crossovers for whatever reason. Someone was talking about Brian Bendis the other day, so I ended up reading Secret Invasion because, once again, no one talks about it anymore, and I've just had Bendis's big crossovers on my mind. I'm like, I'm going to search Secret Invasion. And I ended up reading the whole thing start to finish. Was it as good, in my opinion, as House of M, his work over there? Not really. I just enjoyed the storytelling they did with the characters in House of M better, from when you got to see them living out their fantasies in real life, basically, and then that earth-shattering moment when they find out it was all fabricated to kind of keep them from fighting, the House of M, basically. And this one, and let me say hi to a few more folks before I explain Secret Invasion. We got, of course, Brett Hess was in earlier. Pages, Film, and Plastic. What is going on? Nice to see you in the chat. And we got JoJo giving those good vibes. What's going on, Flicks and Comics? Nice to see you out and about tonight. But going back to Secret Invasion, I've just never been hugely involved with the Marvel cosmic side of stuff. We got Brandon Stawinski. What's going on, Brandon? Nice to see you. So when they start name dropping these scrolls that I kind of don't care about or don't really know, I lose interest pretty quick. That being said, though, it was a lot of fun seeing some of these Marvel characters you don't expect to start to be scrolls. Like probably the biggest reveal in the book was when Jarvis turns out to be a Skrull, like, the nicest dude in the Marvel Universe, basically. And he was a Skrull, and he just kidnapped your baby, basically. So that got real pretty quick with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage losing their baby toward the end of it. I actually kind of want to go read back the Luke Cage storyline. I think it took place in New Avengers after that, if I remember right, where they have to go try to get the baby back from the Skrulls, basically. It turns out Spider-Woman was like the queen of the Skrull Empire. They had the Invisible Woman on their team. Yellow Jacket was a Skrull. So a lot of these characters start to be Skrulls. And meanwhile, they just drop a ship in the middle of the Savage Land where the heroes, the New Avengers and the Mighty Avengers are already fighting. And it had like all these like 80s Secret War style characters. Of course, they all turn out to be Skrulls too, but it's mainly just to confuse the existing heroes and to not trusting each other further after their schism with, the Civil War, basically. So it's just event on top of event on top of event that led to Secret Invasion, basically. And by the end of it, it gets even more weird because Norman Osborn is leading the Dark Avengers, and he's the one who makes the final kill shot on Spider-Woman or Queen Skrull or whatever her name is. So then you go into the Dark Reign stuff, which is another big event. So it was kind of interesting to read a big event that was taking place in the middle of these roller coasters, basically, of just Marvel event after event, and just trying to piece together in my head what I was reading at the time, because that's probably the only way I could completely understand what's going on. So if you're like a new reader out there trying to read some of these older big events, it's got to be so confusing. So, I guess that's just the formula nowadays. Well, of course, I want to get back in the chat. We got Chris Barrett saying he's arrived there. He finally popped up over there. Brett Hess says he's reading Batman Endgame for the first time. Yeah, one day I want to revisit the Snyder Capullo stuff. A lot of great stuff, of course. I just wasn't too into the Jim Gordon stuff you're about to probably get into after Endgame, but I did like the lead up to that, basically. So I think you're in for the treat there, Brett. All right. So that's pretty much what I ended up reading last week besides all the other shows. I guess I had to talk about one more thing. I think it's Friday, if I remember right. We're going to try to do it Friday or Saturday on JP's budget collecting. It's going to be me, Comic Book NYC, of course, JP, and then Whodat. We're going to be reading Batman TMNT for their Gotham City Chronicles show. So that should be a lot of fun, getting a chance to reread Batman TMNT, of course, was a great read the first time around. I'm looking forward to reading it for the second time and to get to review it with those three guys. I know, two of them are big Batman fans. Of course, there's a big Turtle fan in there as well, and Who Dat, so can't wait for all of that. But being that things are opening back up around here, I actually managed to get a nice stack of books last week. So I ended up hitting up my half-price books. So you guys know how much I love me some half-price books. If you ever watch this show, that's pretty much most of what it is me getting $1.20 books and just talking about insane 90s 20-cent books I've been accumulating. So they're happy to be back open. I was excited to go shop there. They're only opening for like 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Just found out about it last week because I think they literally started last Wednesday, and I was there like Wednesday at 2 p.m. basically, an hour after they opened. So I was pretty excited to dig through some dollar bins for the first time in what felt like forever, even though it's only been like 3 months. So before I show you the pickups, definitely want to say hi to my first subscriber ever, Fish Tropic. Hey, what's going on, man? Nice to see you in the chat. Chris Barrett says, Dark Reign has a great X-Men annual cover. Yeah, there's some pretty cool covers. I think that's where you start to like really see the stock of Gabriel Dell'Otto rise in Marvel. He does a lot of cool covers around then as well. But here's what I got. I got a couple 20 centers and mostly some dollar pickups. I wanted to spend longer there, but I just had stuff to do that day. So I might try to go back Friday or Saturday and see what they've got. But I'm trying not to make my trips too often because obviously we still want to stay home as much as possible. But they're not, obviously, a lot of these bookstores, they're not buying up product right now because they don't want to be sorting through it because of everything that's going on. So they're probably not going to be refilling their bins with more new stuff anytime soon. But here's what I picked up nonetheless. I always got to get me some Gen 13. Every time I see the mini series in 20 cent and dollar bins, I always almost end up picking up every time. And of course, look at that. Newsstand. I'm trying to get this whole run in newsstand, basically. I think I've got about maybe 2 issues to go. I can't remember the 2 issues. I got issue 1, of course, in newsstand. This is issue 4, so I was missing this one. I think I got issue 5 as well, so it's probably like 2, 3, and probably 0. I can't remember if 0 came in a newsstand or not because I think they released that as kind of the bridge between the miniseries and the ongoing back in the day. It probably exists in a newsstand. I can't remember. We got Nick Miller in the chat. What's going on, Nick? Nice to see you in the chat tonight. Jojo says, I wish there was a half-price books in Vegas. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jojo. It's a good store if you can find one, but I think there's like Second and Charles and Books A Million and those other ones. I know I got a Books A Million about an hour away from me, and occasionally I can find some cool stuff there. Speaking of Gen 13, also for 20 cents, this was right next to it in the bin. I decided, screw it, why not pick it up for 20 cents? This is Gen 13, the Max. From way back in the day. In my opinion, I think I said this about Generation X versus Gen 13, but this may be the actual most 90s comic in my collection now, even though it doesn't have too many shiny gimmicks on it. Come on, the Max Gen 13, 90s all day, every day. Oh, look at this. We got Big E, some of the New York Warriors. What's going on, man? Nice to see you in the chat. They're having another heck of an auction tonight. So check them out around 10 p.m. Eastern every single Tuesday. I'll definitely have to check out some of the auction before I have to go to bed to wake up for work at 4 a.m. in the morning. So nice to see Big E's in the chat. And here's a good one. We got Heroes Return Avengers. So I don't have a lot of these like Heroes Return #1s. This is kind of like that time in Marvel where, they're kind of bankrupt, they're kind of hurting, and to be honest, I wasn't reading a lot of comics, and I think this was from 98, February of 1998, so I don't see a lot of these hero return books too often. Usually I see like the later run when the 2000s kind of reinvigorated Marvel with the movies, so that's around the time you had Mark Waid on Fantastic Four. I think Jeff Johns even had an Avengers run around then, if I remember right, that I have in the bins back there. But I don't see a lot of these 98 ones laying around at all. So when I can find the #1s for $1, I usually just go ahead and pick them up. So I thought that was a pretty cool dollar pickup. Here's an interesting one. This is the variant Neil Adams cover month cover for Batman Superman issue 29. Of course, that's a swipe of the Speedy, my ward, a junkie. So somehow this is now Robin a junkie, so completely they just have Batman, Robin, and Superman in those roles, of course, instead. But hey, Neil Adams doing a swipe of his own cover. I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen this one around too often, so I'd easily pay $1 for that all day. Even though, like, I think I've said on this channel previously, like modern day Neil Adams, seeing some of his like newer stuff, not the world's greatest, but I think in terms of some of his 2010s work, this is definitely top of the line Neil Adams stuff that he would have put out. Well, it's once again not saying a whole heck of a lot, but I dig this cover nonetheless. We got Count Von Strange. What's going on, Count? Nice to see you once again in the chat. I know he's a Swamp Thing fan. One day I'm going to have to do a whole segment on the show of just me showing off the Swamp Thing collection and talking about the Alan Moore run and Bernie Wrightson. But yeah, he's been showing off some Swamp Thing on his channel recently. So I don't know if I think he did get the first 10 or he's going for them graded. But I know he's trying to get those in high grade recently. Chris Barrett says, Mark Waid gave us Kirby as an actual god of the Marvel Universe. Yeah, that's right. I believe it was when Reed Richards had that big old scar on his face from Doom, like touching him like that. And then basically Ben Grimm gets killed off in the midst of all this. And then they have to like, in the previous run, which is like issue 500, they actually go to the depths of hell. So they kind of reverse it, like, hey, we've been to hell, let's go to heaven. And they find King Kirby there, and they negotiate with King Kirby to get the thing back and Reed's face back, basically. It's a pretty crazy storyline, but I dug it back in the day. I'm not a big Conan guy, but usually these 25th anniversary swipes, I usually just end up picking up. And hey, once again, newsstand. All right, that's awesome. So don't see the Conan 25th anniversary around too often. So I went ahead and picked that one up. I'm slowly amassing a lot of these 25th anniversaries. I might just have to put them together in the collection just to see how many of these I got. Going back to the Fantastic Four, actually. Here's one of the Mike Turner covers I was missing. This is Fantastic Four issue 550. Another beautiful Mike Turner cover. I think I'm pretty close to completing the Turner run of the Fantastic Four covers. Plus, I collected a lot of this run, but for some reason I never got a lot of the Dwayne McDuffie stuff. And this is where he had his run, kind of in between. I think it was John Michael Straczynski and Mark Millar, basically. You have Dwayne McDuffie's run kind of hidden in there. So you get Storm and Black Panther joining the Fantastic Four. But yeah, just a beautiful cover on that, gotta say. Going back to Heroes Return, I did find the Fantastic Four #1 as well. You got Scott Lobdell, Alan Davis on that one. So like I said, this was kind of like we're sorry about the Heroes Reborn stuff. We're going back to normal with Heroes Return. So start of a great run. I haven't read the early part of the stuff. I love the Mark Waid stuff once again. And then they had a good run until Hickman's ending. Hickman's run was good too. Don't want to say it wasn't, but a lot of good stuff happened in this Fantastic Four run. Two big books for last, in my opinion, both $1. I've been looking for these for years, and this is the first time I found one for $1. It's the Age of Apocalypse like miniseries #1s. This is X Universe during the Age of Apocalypse. But as you know, you see that gold. I've been looking for these gold variants for quite a while. I would love to have a full set of the Age of Apocalypse gold variants, but just to get one finally for $1, and then there's your golden glare right there. So very happy to find this. So love to have the rest of them, like the Astonishing X-Men, Gambit, and the Externals and all that. But I'll at least take one to get my collection started on those. And this is a cover right here. This is the last $1 pickup I had from Half Price Books. If I knew about this cover previously, I probably would have way overpaid for it at this point. I'm kind of glad I didn't know, because the covers I found it for $1 and I was extremely happy with it. Superman Unchained issue #3 variant. And as you can see, it's got my boy. It's got Superboy. But who did the art on this cover, you ask? The guys who created Superboy, Tom Grummett and Carl Kessel, back in 2013. So I had no idea that Tom Grummett did any type of published Superboy art post New 52, let alone like post 2000s, basically. So I absolutely love this cover. I'm definitely going to Mylar this up. But like I said, I am so glad I didn't know about this, because I probably would have wanted to pay like $20 for this dang thing. Not even close to being worth that, but to me, it was my character, and it's the artist I loved most on the character doing the art. So I think this is a Yeah, it says it's a 9th variant cover. So Superman Unchained. Of course, when you have Jim Lee and Scott Snyder, you got 4 trillion variant covers, and this was just kind of lost in that variant cover shuffle. So very happy to discover this for $1. I couldn't be happier with that. All right. So before we get into my local shop pickups, and they were very happy to be back open, and they were cutting some deals. Let's say I want to get into the chat. Tacoma says, I am absolutely here now. So nice to see you, Tacoma. Always like seeing Tacoma in the chat. Chris Barrett says, Unchained is part of the Few 52. I'm assuming New 52. Yeah, it's one of those runs. It had a lot of hype behind it. It's probably a solid read, but when you have like these 2 larger-than-life creators, especially like Scott Snyder is highest of highs, and Jim Lee, he's Jim Lee. After all that being said, it just didn't do much for me, unfortunately. I'd like to revisit that as well to see what I really think. But if someone does love Superman Unchained, let me know. I'd be curious to hear about it. Big E says loves them, so that 90s foil. Yeah, absolutely. I love all the 90s gimmicks. Even that holo foil, chromium, all that gold cover stuff. I love collecting. That's some of my favorite stuff in my collection. JoJo says, cool, never seen the Conan 25th anniversary. Yeah, like I said, that's one I definitely don't see too often. Biggie says Unchained was after George Perez New 52 run. That's right. Yeah, it was after. It's kind of like once New 52 got their feet really wet, but a couple years before Rebirth, basically. It's like right dead in the middle of all that stuff that was going on at DC. All right. So local shop also just happened to open up for the first time last week. They're starting by doing appointments. You could call them, make an appointment, basically. It's a pretty tight-knit shop, so I can't blame them for, wanting to maintain that social distancing stuff in their store. It's kind of difficult not to because it's such a smaller shop. But I guess there just wasn't a big response for the meeting. So they said, screw it. We're going to open our doors. We may limit the amount of people if it comes to that, but just maintain social distancing. We like if you wear a mask. So that's what I did. I'm like, screw it. I'm going Wednesday. It's going to be New Comic Book Day. And he was so happy to be open. I was happy for him. I know he just felt that excitement of being able to unlock his door for the first time in 3 months. And he cut some deals, basically. He had like a whole room where everything was either $1 or you get 5 comics for $1. So I didn't go too crazy, but I at least got a stack of 10 from that room. I think it's just selling a lot of stuff for other people too. So a lot of randomness in this room. So here's how random it was. So I got the first 2 comics I got out of there, more magazines. I had to get me the 90s Wizards. So, I mean, these are 2 that I didn't already have in the collection. So it's always a ton of fun flipping through these Wizards. Like if you collected in the 90s, you almost have to buy these. So here's issue number 13. Really cool Ghost Rider cover there. But yeah, so this is probably the second oldest one I have now, besides the first issue. Finally, I found the first issue about 6 months ago. Been looking for that one for a while, but thought it was cool to get issue number 13 as well. This thing filled with Valiant, early Image, Lobo, all that fun stuff. So I always got to highlight showing off the young kid faces that were the Image founders and the Wizard top 10 hottest artist list there. So there you go. There's the focus right there. So of course the hot 10 is almost the entire the Image founder list, and Mike Zeck, John Byrne, Ron Lim, and Mark Bagley thrown in there. So always thought that was fun. And of course saw this cool Jim Lee Wildcats cover on issue 27 and had to have that as well. Gatefold gimmicks and all that stuff. Oh, look, here we go. We got, what is this? Yep, Spider-Man X-Men for the Genesis fold-out. Gotta love the old 90s magazine fold-outs. And then there is the complete cover to the issue. So one day I'm going to read all this 90s Image stuff again. I know everyone frowns on it, but I actually kind of do want to reread Gen 13 and Wildcats just to get those old Jim Lee comics read. Let's see what else I picked up for 20 cents. So I got Cry for Dawn. I'm slowly starting to get a little bit of a collection of these Joseph Michael Linsner Dawn comics. These were very hard to find back in the day. Pretty much anything Linsner touched, It wasn't cheap. A lot of the books I remember being on the wall at my local shops I would discover as a kid. So to find this stuff for 20 cents now is pretty awesome because there's not a lot of people who really collect Joseph Michael Linsner Don stuff. So it's kind of like 90s chaos comics too, except you don't see those at all. The Lady Death, the Evil Ernie stuff, I do not see those at all around here, but at least the Don stuff I'll see creep up from time to time for really cheap. So usually when I see this stuff, I'll go ahead and pick that up. Here's a blast from the past. I think Big E's is still hanging out in the chat. He was 90s gimmicks. What better does it get than freaking hollow foil cards on the front of your comic? So, of course, I had to get X-Men 25, one where Wolverine gets the adamantium ripped out of him by Magneto, and then you get Bone Claw Wolverine. But here's one of those. I guess they're slightly more valuable. The blue color card there with Gambit on it. Most of them are like yellow and green. I saw the blue one for 20 cents. Figure I may as well go ahead and get it. Not the world's greatest shape, but hey, this is like I think this might actually be the second or third X-Men comic I bought as a kid. Because, of course, the first one was the going into the Age of Apocalypse, the conclusion of Legion Quest. That just came with an issue of Wizard. And then it was probably Age of Apocalypse, and then this one, if I remember right. So that's a hollow foil card. Gotta love it. 20 cents. Let's see what the chat is saying. Biggie says he's not going to any cons till next year. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's going to be the story for most of us, unfortunately. Chris Barrett says, I don't see Perez and all the other artists True hates. Give me 2 seconds. I'll fix that for you, Barrett. Tacoma says, I think I agree. Biggie's ECCC is rescheduled from March to August. 70% of no-go. They mandated mask, limited 10, so I might go. I don't see how they would do that. And then Big E says, Fatal Attractions, loved reading that as a kid. Yeah, I remember trying to collect all those hollow foil card covers. Took me a while, but I eventually got them all. Now you can get them 10 times over in the dollar bins. So it's a lot of fun to collect. It really is. Once again, another fun one. I would love to start collecting a whole run of this. Thundercats, issue 17. This was actually the 10th book, so I wouldn't have to pay $1 for everything. After he told me the deal, I went back in the room. There was a random box on the floor, and this was, and I'm like, you better believe I'm getting some Thundercats. So kind of like Turtles and that stuff. Don't see Thundercats around too often. I think this is kind of one of those types of books where collectors hang on to them. They don't really flip them or sell them too much. So, yeah, to find a Thundercats for 20 cents, extremely happy with that. We got the Mastodon in the chat. He says, found his way back, got distracted by my you got to get that AC fixed, man. It's getting hot out there. It's like 90 degrees here. I don't know where the temperature's at for you, Donnie, but it's already getting warm, man. So Mastodon's in the chat. Chris Barrett says, said to Bear on last night, I can't wait for contract renegotiations. Speaking of Perez, Barrett, we got New Teen Titans number 12. I'm going to classify this as a reader copy. It was 20 cents. It's a run filler for me. Definitely had to pick that one up. Great Wolfman Perez goodness. That is in the collection. Now, once again, going back to Turtles, you guys know if this says Turtles on it, I'm probably going to buy it for 20 cents. So this is Ninja Turtles Flaming Carrot issue 2. I think I have the first issue of this, or probably the same issue, but I wasn't going to leave this laying in there. It's definitely an easy pickup for me. And actually, of course, my stuff is unsorted. Here we go. I need to rebag this one still. It's got a crunch on the bottom corner, but I found this one for 20 cents as well. Dark Horse Presents, I believe this is issue number 34. I think this is the first Aliens in comics. If not, it is classified as an early appearance of Aliens or something like that. Used to be a hot book. It's about $5 or $10 now, but like I said, this is probably every bit of 20 cents. Like, it is crunched on the bottom there, but beautiful book for 20 cents. I'll take that easy all day. Punk Rock Jesus, number 1. I still need to read this whole run, but I love me some Sean Gordon Murphy. No way I was going to leave that in there for 20 cents. So, absolutely. And actually, I would say of most of the ones I found for dirt cheap, this one was in pretty good condition. Probably read one time. So, very happy with that pickup. And the last 20-cent find I had at my shop was Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 90. So does have a little bit of some sort of staining in the corner. New stand, by the way. But other than that, to have a tied for first appearance black costume issue for 20 cents, I think probably everyone here would have picked this one up. So I was very shocked to find this one. I don't know why this wasn't on his wall for at least like $5. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm just looking at the condition now. I don't think it's too bad. Like I said, I opened it up in here. Definitely needs some cleaning done. But other than that, probably could at least got a few bucks out of it. So maybe it wasn't his. He had a few $3 Spider-Mans on his wall as well. So I picked up a few more run fillers. So I got Amazing Spider-Man 233 for $3. So I was happy to get some sort of reasonably priced mid-200 Spider-Man. I'm guessing a lot of these probably sold. Like, come on, it's Spider-Man. These things won't last. And then I got 263 was his first Normie Osborn, I think. This one was hot for a while, but it's definitely stalled. But I'll take that one for $3 all day. So happy to find that. Down to 2 hauls here now. This one here, it's Next Wave Agents of Hate. I definitely plan on reading this whole thing. This is kind of like in a pile of random assorted books that he just hadn't priced yet. He's just like, yeah, if there's anything you want down there, just say what it is, and I'll throw a deal at you. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's see if there's anything. It's like, hey, I heard Next Wave was a great read. How much is that? 5 books, $5. I'm like, cool. Take it for $1 a piece. So good old Warren Ellis, Stuart Eminem. I'll try that out for $5. Why not? And then the last book, I don't know why he was selling this for $15. I was pretty shocked. He said, obviously, spine roll's an issue on this, but I think, it could be it probably is pressable, of course. He kind of pointed out the curve staple. I'm like, okay, that is what it is. But, I wanted to show some support. I'm just like, you know what? Just throw it in the pile. I'll take it. He's like, hey, you got a $10 gift certificate. You want to use that on this? Yeah, sure. So I got this book for $5. Secret Wars #8, the first alien costume. So this book for $5, I mean, come on. Like, even if it's, he classified it kind of as a reader copy, but to be honest, like, I wouldn't mind giving this to a presser and seeing what they could do with this. I'm probably not going to do that right now because that's not really how I spend my money or collect, but maybe one day I may just, send this to a presser and see if they can get a nice, bump and grade on this. I already have an 8.5 grade on the copy I had. I kind of just wanted a reader copy to go along with my graded one. So $5. $5, couldn't beat that. Come on. I mean, I'd take that all day, of course. So, yeah, steal of a deal on this one. So I was extremely happy. $5. Yeah, come on. All right, so that's pretty much all the stuff I picked up last week. So let's go ahead and get into the chat, and then we'll sign off here shortly. So Tacoma says he's got to run, take the dogs out. Oh, he's coming back at 10 p.m. tonight. That's right. He has his he renamed it. He's like, the keto diet has replaced the wine and comics, so he's bourbon and BS now. I like it. So that's awesome, man. So he's already retitled his new show because of the keto diet. So stay tuned for that. 10 p.m. I believe that's Pacific his time. I'll definitely have to watch a little bit of that before I go to work tomorrow morning. That sounds awesome. Chris Barrett says because it was like $5, it's wall worthy. Yeah, like I said, it was like just on his wall to check out. I'm just like, why is it $15? So he started taking it out. He said, by the way, you got a $10. I'm like, just put it in the pile. Come on. Take it easy, Biggies. Thanks for popping in the chat. We got Scott Evans. What's going on, man? He says, oh, man, his AC broke yesterday, too. Oh, man, 2 weeks. Good luck, man. I'm sorry to hear that, Scott. So hopefully that gets fixed soon for you. We still got JoJo in the chat. Oh, thanks, Big East, for the congrats. And then Mastodon says, hope not for him. 9-year-old, that's not, yeah, it's just saying, in the grand scheme of air conditioners, that is not too old. And, of course, Fish Traffic with the big thumbs up. That about does it for this week, guys. Got a couple plugs before I completely sign off. My friend Mike and I are still working on Comics of the Atom. we're probably going to record either this Saturday or Sunday. We're going to do Animal Man Volume 1 from the Grant Morrison run next up. So we finished off Astonishing X-Men. We're probably going to try to record last Monday, but we're both pretty busy. I have a lot of reading projects going on this week, almost like the norm now for me. So he was cool just delaying it a week because I have the whole weekend off ahead of me. So we'll probably be recording that, and hopefully it'll hit about this time next week. Like I said, I'll be on JP Budget Collecting's channel. We'll be reviewing Batman at TMNT with an awesome group of people. Comic Books NYC Kavi will be there, and Who Dat Comics and Movies will also be there along with myself and JP. I believe that's tentatively scheduled for this Friday or Saturday as well. And then, of course, Modern Men. We had Modern Men last night. We had the Thanos special. We had a cool turnout. Read the Jeff Lemire Volume 1. Bit underwhelming, but it made me want to keep reading that run. And then Drew educated us on Thanos, basically. So we had a lot of fun last night. Next week, we're going to have the Donny Cates special for episode 34. And we got to pull up on the Comic Core community tab if you guys would like to step over there and vote. I left the link to last night's episode in the comments down below. But big thank you guys so much for hopping in the chat and joining me. I don't always schedule these things short notice. So I just thank you guys for your continued support. Until next time, have a wonderful